Okay. I thought they were out of timeouts. All right. What are the final scores? We've got to be about the only game in the state that's still playing, Brent.
Yeah, we're pretty close. Let's see what I can get for you here.
3 weeks ago, we played one quarter. It took an hour and 10 minutes.
I'll give you some 4A scores. Wake Forest over Chapel Hill, 42-8. AC Reynolds, 55-14 over AL Brown. Independence over Page, 41-13. Catholic over Reagan, 48-22. Weddington, 29-19 over Marvin Ridge. Butler over Hickory Ridge, 28-21. Mount Tabor over Asheville, 28-26. Rollsville over Overhills, 41-16. First and goal at the 8 for the Yellow Jackets. 53 seconds left in this one.
Now we're sure they're out of timeouts. I guess that's why they started the clock back on that time when we thought it was a timeout.
So rolling right and running out of bounds is Crowder. That was DJ Eskridge on the tackle.
So 47 seconds left, and I think that might have been a loss of one. So I guess officially that would be a sack.
Yeah. So second and goal at the 9. Crowder now with 13 carries on the night. He's also thrown it 27 times. So really, really thrown it a lot more here in the second half, trailing.
He's thrown it well. Yep. I mean, he really has. He's thrown it quite well.
And he's going to throw it again. He's completed it to Massey, and he's thrown out of bounds around the 5 by DJ Eskridge again with some help from Calvin Ramseur.
So this drive, by actual time, seems like it's taken about 40 minutes, but it hasn't. But it's just
yeah.
Shelby scored. Shelby turned it over on downs with 3:39 left, and so they've held the ball for almost 3 minutes of scoreboard time. But third and goal from the 5. 42 seconds left in this game. Shelby leads 30-13.
Crowder gets the snap, throws it left, jump ball, corner, Boulder. It's well defended by Camden McGill again. Those two have been going at it all night, and I think they've each won about three times.
So it's going to be fourth and goal. 38 seconds.
Fourth and goal at the 5. We'll try to wrap it up pretty quickly. We do have some players of the game to go over. We'll do a quick Okies Titan recap. I'm going to just give you the Shelby stats tonight.
All right, fourth down. Pass is complete, and he stopped shy of the end zone, so that will turn the ball over. Shelby will take it. He signaled incomplete. I think he signaled he didn't get in the end zone, like it was a 2-point conversion. And so Shelby's going to have it on their 1-yard line with 29 seconds left. And Shelby's going to take a timeout because this is you can't just snap that back in the shotgun and down it because it's going to be 2 points.
Crowd giving their players a well-deserved hand.
Yeah, again, cannot overemphasize. Forest Hills came into this game missing their quarterback, and they played their backup quarterback, who's one of their good running backs, and he really did a nice job. Golden Lions played a pretty solid game tonight. The referees were concerning to both sides. Both sides found a lot of interesting things that the officials were calling, but when it's all said and done, Shelby will come out of this with a win. It's just, again, a question right now is I haven't seen Shelby take a snap under center all year. So what do you do here on your own 1 yard line? If you can just get it out of the end zone, then the game's over. I mean, you just gotta get. And he did. He took it under center, and he's going to get about 4 yards. That's going to be Dalen Lee going to pad his rushing stats, and that will be the ball game.
So one snap, and Shelby can let the clock run out. Shelby will move to the second round over at Lawndale and take on the third seed Burns Bulldogs in a rematch of last week's conference championship game. Forest Hills season ends at 9-2 after a heck of a season, but like we said, awfully young. Brady Hibbard starting quarterback, a junior. The backfield of Rodney Smith, who is a sophomore, and Christian Davis, who is a senior, but the sophomore Smith. And then at receiver, you got Ross Smith, a junior, Jarrell Boulder, a sophomore, and Potter, a junior. And then Massey, a sophomore. Those are pretty special.
Let me go over real quickly the Okies Tire and recap of the game. With 7:13 left in the first quarter, Berkowitz a 36-yard Jack Berkowitz a 36-yard field goal. Shelby led 3-0, and that would be a lead that Shelby never gave up. With 26 seconds left in the first quarter, Mylan Daniels, a 22-yard pass from Dalen Lee. Berkowitz's point after, and it was 10-0 Shelby. With 3:03 left in the second quarter, Ross Smith, a 3-yard touchdown run. Gail Moreno, the point after, and it was 10-7 Shelby. With 17 seconds left in the half, Drew Hollifield, a 3-yard touchdown run. Berkowitz's point after, and at halftime, the Shelby led 17-7. With 4:31 left in the third quarter, Drew Hollifield, another 3-yard touchdown run. Berkowitz's point after, and Shelby led 24-7. With 10:52 left in the game, Drew Hollifield, a third touchdown run, this time 4-yard run. The point after was wide to the left, and Shelby led 30-7. And then with 9:34 left in the game, Gabe Crowder had a 20-yard touchdown run. The point after was wide right, and that made it 30-13. And what we had after that was two ridiculously long drives that did not score points. One by the Golden Lions and one by Forest Hills. And that's the final, 30-13. Shelby will move on to meet a 10-1 Burns team who they just lost to last week by a score of 27-14. Shelby had 21 first downs. They were guilty of 5 penalties for 29 yards and had 2 turnovers, an interception and a fumble. Forest Hills had 16 first downs. They were guilty of 3 penalties for 34 yards and had no turnovers.
All right, let's run down the stats. We'll just do your Shelby Golden Lions. Rushing tonight, leading rusher was Bryson Key, 20 carries for 74 yards. How about this? Dalen Lee, 7 carries, 59 yards. Nick Norris, 5 carries, 34 yards. Drew Hollifield, 5 carries, 20 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And Jakeith Hamilton, 1 carry, 15 yards. Lee was 11 of 24 for 188 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Hamilton, 4 catches, 78 yards. Bryson Key, 3 catches, 54 yards. Mylan Daniels, 2 catches, 28 yards, and a touchdown. TJ Griffin, 1 catch, 17 yards. And Eli Falls, 1 catch, 11 yards. So that's your 198 yards rushing. Actually, I think I missed
Bryson Key.
That last rush by Lee. So
that's 5 yards, yeah.
202 yards. 202 on the ground, 188 in the air. Probably the first time this year we've rushed for more than we've passed.
I would agree with
and
you.
It was a winner tonight. Let's do our players of the game. And, Jeff, I'll do the offense. I'll let you do defense.
Okay.
I'm going to go offensive player of the game, sponsored by Hojo Power Sports of Shelby, Bryson Key. 20 carries, 74 yards, 3 catches, 54 yards. And I think when you add that up, it's about 128 total yards of offense.
Absolutely. Great game tonight by Bryson Key. Defensive player of the game, guy that we kept calling all night long, Cam Anderson. made a lot of nice plays. Went out a couple times with a couple of different ailments, but then came right back in. And so Cam Anderson, 6'2", 190-pound linebacker, defensive back, junior. He's our defensive player of the game, sponsored by Homestar Financial of Shelby.
And I'll go our overall SNR Auto Sales player of the game. How about Dalen Lee?
How about Dalen Lee?
188 yards. Passing and a touchdown, then ran it for 59 yards.
Absolutely.
Those were big scrambles that he had tonight, and he had scrambles of 15, 14, 9, 5, 12, and 4. And great job in the air and on the ground for Lee for an overall great game tonight, and our SNR Auto Sales overall player of the game. And just kind of a nod to Drew Hollifield, who scored 3 rushing touchdowns, was the holder tonight, and played a pretty good game on defense as well.
Absolutely. And if we had a special teams player, that would be Jack Berkowitz, because Berkowitz kicked it off 6 times and kicked every one of them in the end zone. And he's 2 for 2 for field goals this year. And had just that one missed point after touchdown. Well, that means that next week, all Cleveland County schools will play again. At least one of the Cleveland County schools will lose next week because Burns plays Shelby. So one of those guys will go home, and Shelby will make their way to Falston or Lawndale, whichever way you want to try to get there. And that should be a barn burner. And we have no idea. You just check the listings to see who's going to be covering that. Crest, I think, will probably be on the road. Don't know exactly where they'll be. And then Kings Mountain will be at home.
Yeah, so let's take a look real quick. Shelby at Burns, Kings Mountain, they will play at home against the Smoky Mountain Central Davidson winner. And Crest, who defeated Statesville tonight, plays the winner of Oak Grove and West Meck. I can't remember who won that. So
I have no idea.
They would travel to Oak Grove. They would host West Meck. Let's see if I can get that score for you real quick before we sign off here. I did want to mention you are listening to the Stamey Funeral Home of Falston post-game show. And our title sponsor, as always, WestEndSales.com. We thank you for listening tonight.
And if you want to know the winner of that, whose Crest is going to play, get that in the post-game show, because we're going to wrap it up and head it and send it back to the station. What do you think, Brent?
Yep. Call in tonight and tell us about the game you went to, and that'll do it for Jeff Jones. This is Brent Pasco, and we'll see you next week. Shelby moves on 30-13.
If you're ready to make the great escape, do it with the #1 brand on the water. Yamaha Wave Runners are the most premium personal watercraft on the market, with industry-first features and exciting new products like the all-new 2021 VX Series with audio packages, the must-anticipated Superjet, and the new race-ready GP Series. This is Wave Runner country. See one today at Full Throttle Power Sports, located at 100 Indian Walk off I-85 in Laurel.
Whirlpool, Samsung, KitchenAid, and LG refrigerators have all been unloaded at Hendrick Appliance and Mattress Center in Shelby. Save big money on these scratch and dented refrigerators, and all with a 1-year warranty. But that's not all. Scratch and dented washers and dryers, including top mount and front mount high-end laundry units. Bosch stainless steel dishwashers for $499, and all with a 1-year warranty. And check out their YouTube videos, Hendrick Appliance and Mattress Center, 1241 East Dixon Boulevard in Shelby, on the right going down, on the left coming up.
Our communities are filled with wonderful people. Our local mortgage bankers have the experience you need and exceptional personal service you'll appreciate. Home Trust Bank is ready to help make a house your home. When it's time to buy, visit your local Home Trust branch or go to htb.com/mortgage. Or go to htb.com/.
I only do things incredible can, 'cause I am the seed of a chosen breed. You don't see too many like me, 'cause I am one of the reasons you do what you do when you wanna be me instead of you, 'cause I am still on beat, showing love to the streets. Come on, you know me, 'cause that's who I am.
Yes, it was. Ashe County didn't get over midfield until in the third quarter or late third quarter. They were just throttled all night. A couple of pass interceptions by Hampton Good. And then the really weird play of the night, Ashe punted from their own end zone. The kicker was back by the end line. He kicked it. It went straight up in the air. Marcel Johnson almost could have called fair catch on it, but he waited for it to come down, caught it in the end zone, and he gets a punt return touchdown of 0 yards. Because he caught the ball in the end zone. It never got out. So that was an interesting score. That was the third touchdown of the game. DeAndre Walker had 2 big catches early in the game for touchdowns.
David,
Jackson, it was a blowout.
Real quick,
almost
David,
from the gun.
David, you didn't happen to ask anybody if that counts as a 0 yard, or does it count from wherever the ball was snapped from?
Most punt returns are from where you catch it to where it is down.
Right. So that's an interesting question there, maybe. I don't know. How do you ride a 0 yard?
He just stood there and caught it, and he was in the end zone. So I don't see where there were any return yards.
No, there's not. I don't
I've
know.
never
That's
seen
weird.
that. I can cross that off my bucket list now.
Well, tell us a little bit about this catch Jackson Beam made there earlier in the game.
Yeah, the fourth touchdown of the game was Jackson Beam. Mizell went back to pass, threw it. They were 20 yards out at that point. He threw it to Beam. Beam jumped up and was leaning over the shoulder of the defender, caught the ball, and kind of bounced off the shoulder of the defender back onto his feet, eluded him, and down the sideline for the final 8 or 9 yards and into the end zone for a touchdown. It was quite the catch.
Well, congratulations to Jackson. I'm sure he's got a very proud papa, and of course, Coach Dad over there, and Grandma, and all the beams. So, congratulations, Jackson, on a great catch tonight. Well, David, you know you're a Lincoln County announcer. West Lincoln falls tonight up at Hendersonville, 36-29. I don't know if you had heard about that one. And the last one, I haven't got the Lincoln final yet. Have you heard any final on that? I had them up by 8.
I'm in the same boat as you. I've been looking around. I haven't seen anything on it at this point. And last I knew, Lincolnton was ahead, but that score is pretty old by this point.
29-21 is the last thing I had. So I'm doing my best to try to find something.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Max Preps is showing it at halftime. That's even worse than what we had.
Right. So if you any Lincoln fans, they're in overtime. Lincoln's up 37-36 in the first overtime, according to the Athletic Association Max Preps.
Well, then that would be it, because they're showing in progress 36-29 Randleman in overtime. So that means they would have had a possession, and Lincolnton would have scored and gone for 2 and made it.
Yep, Lincoln says Lincoln in overtime under a minute. Lincoln in rush for 2-point conversion. Pass completed in overtime to Will Blackburn for a touchdown, made it Randleman 36-35. They go for 2. Lincoln wins. Lincoln wins, folks. 37-36. Your final on the road in Randleman.
Well, that was certainly a better game, or more competitive than the one we had.
Really? Yeah, thanks.
Just a little bit.
So, Lincoln and East are the teams left in Lincoln County now, David. And Maiden, of course, they were up 61-26. Last score we had. Your Hickory Tornadoes, you've done them this year. They got beat by South Point 13-48. I'm trying to see if there's anybody else there in the conference.
That pulled away. Yeah, it was fairly close early on, but 21-13 at the half, so it was all South Point in the second half.
Your St. Stephen's got 6 on Kings Mountain tonight, for the folks wondering about that game. So they did score on the Mountaineers. Mountaineers didn't do them too bad up there. So next week, East Lincoln will go. They'll be at home, of course, and they'll host Tuscola. If they win that, David, they would host the winner of Northwest Cabarrus and Ledford. Northwest Cabarrus tonight, they beat Ashbrook 17-3, and Ledford won 35-0 over Freedom. So there's your path for the Mustangs. How do you see them going here in the next week or two?
Tuscola, I haven't heard much about. I'll have to do my homework before that game. But if they do get to the third game and they play Northwest Cabarrus, that was a team that North Lincoln played in the third game of the season on the road, like most of the games were. And it was 14-0 Northwest Cabarrus, and North Lincoln had 3 touchdowns called back because of penalty.
Okay.
So I would imagine that Northwest Cabarrus, that was only the third game of the season, so there's been a lot that has gone, a lot of water under the bridge since then. So I'm sure they're not the same team as they were. So they do have a common opponent. They both played North Lincoln. Obviously, no one from around here has played Tuscola, so we'll have to do a little homework on them.
Well, I hope the Mustangs will keep pulling through, keep playing hard. And this year, they've given up a grand total in 11 games, David, of
53 points.
53 points, you're right. Yep. They gave up more than their average tonight. Leaky defense tonight, David. They was only giving up 4.7 and gave up 6 tonight. Defense coordinator needs fired, I guess.
Well, I'm sure the first team defenders would argue that because it was garbage time. There was only 3 minutes left in the game. And the best thing about the second half, I want to thank the officials for this. That second half of 24 minutes of game time was done in under 25 minutes. They turned over from third to fourth quarter really fast.
No, hey,
so
we have to take note.
That.
We have to take note when we thank the referees for something around here, don't we?
Yep, they kept things moving. That's for sure.
All right, David. Well, next week, LincolnCounty.com, the Mustangs. We'll have them on live audio again with Tuscola from Denver with you and Jason Sane. Thank you, David.
You're welcome. See you next week.
David Potter and Jason Sane up at East Lincoln tonight, 51-6 on the scoreboard. We're going to talk to some of our other announcers tonight, guys. We're going to talk to Britt and Jeff on their way home. We're going to talk to Matt and Danny whenever they get in the hotel about the chair of alignment and more. You got anybody set up right now, JP? Or are we ready for? Can I read some scores? He can't. I guess he's not listening to me. We'll read some scores there, Dennis. How about that?
Why don't we read some scores?
Robbinsville 40-14 over Cherryville.
Yeah.
They'll play Cherokee, who won 28-21 over Starmount. I still don't have the Bessemer City final score. Any Bessemer fans out there and Mountain Island fans want to call JP and tell him the final score. If you have it, let him know. Andrews tonight. The winner of that game will go to Andrews. Andrews won 77-8 over Highland Tech. East Wilkes wins tonight 44-14 over Jefferson. They'll play Murphy, who won tonight 49-20 there in the 1A. Chase Trojans won 74-15.
That's 15, not 14. So
74-15.
Make sure we get that straight.
They'll play. Chase will then host again another playoff game. The Trojans will get to host Robinson. Robinson won tonight for you Chase fans. Robinson won 22-12. Drawn won tonight 63-13. They'll be playing Mitchell next week. Drawn, let's see who's hosting who. Drawn will be hosting Mitchell next week. Both teams combined tonight to score 135 points. Last score I had was Reedsville 63-7. They'll be hosting Providence Grove 48-14 over McMichael. You said Robbie's on the phone? Rob Roop on the phone.
All right.
He's
the Robster.
I guess I don't know if he's home already quickly from the Crest game.
He's probably calling in transit.
Chargers win tonight 33-7. Close game. Was that 7-7 halftime, Robbie?
Yeah, guys, it's 7-7 at half. And again, I cannot figure this Crest team out. I don't know what the halftime speech is or what the discussion that happens, but this is an entirely different football team in the second half of ball games.
Well, Robbie, I said on the pregame show that, Statesville might come out quick and, Crest had to have a faster start, and they did. They scored 7 points in the first half. That's about as fast as they've been this year. It's the second half when Crest, it's like you said, the halftime speech. I don't know what coach is telling them, but it gets them fired up.
And there was Crest had opportunities in the first half. They dropped some passes, some things like that. But again, the thing that really impressed tonight was the Crest defense, guys. They played lights out, even in the first half, only giving up 7 points. And in the second half, it turned into a jailbreak getting into that Statesville backfield. They were running for their lives. So I got to give that friend. They actually gave our defensive player of the game to the Crest front four. I mean, that Statesville was huge up front, guys. Don't get me wrong. They had a huge offensive line. Their defensive line was huge. But I'll tell you, when I went and I watched, and I actually sat with it side by side and watched Kings Mountain play and watched Statesville play. With Kings Mountain, you have defensive linemen, both hands on the ground, the rear ends are in the air, and when the ball snapped, they're coming for you. Statesville, on the other hand, they got one hand on the ground. They got huge kids up front. But when the ball snapped, they're kind of waiting on you to come to them to get. I mean, once they get a hold of you, you're going down. But if they can't get to you, they don't have a shot to grab you. So, again, a great job tonight by the Chargers. Now, Tavius Husky did a great job against the quarterback. Hayden Carson, guys, averaged nearly 8 yards a carry when he got the football. So a nice night on the ground for him as well.
Well, it looks like you got Oak Grove next week, Robbie. Do you know anything about Oak Grove yet?
I mean, they're 11-0. They're the number 3 seed. But, guys, I'm a true believer when you start digging down into schedules and looking at what they've done. I take a look at that Oak Grove team, and I believe they beat 2 teams with a winning record this year.
Yeah.
So and watching them play, they're a well-coached team. They don't beat themselves, but they don't do anything amazing. They just play smart. They don't beat themselves. But I think Crest has an opportunity to put points on the board next week against that Oak Grove team.
Well, that's the kind of thing you'd expect from this coach, that he's going to have some things up his sleeve for this time of the year that he hasn't put on film yet. And I'm talking about offensive-wise. And he may even spice up the defense just a little bit. But primarily, I'm looking for some things that we have not seen the Chargers do so far this year in the playoffs.
And that's one thing Coach Sosebee talks about. He said he's maybe implemented about 60% of what he likes to do offensively. Now, there's no way you're going to be able to add a lot of stuff the rest of this season. You're going to do what you've done well, but there's some still things in the playbook that I feel like he can go to for this football team to make some things happen. And, guys, I just got to give a shout-out to Cleveland County once again. What a night for the county, 4-0. And once again, a lot of people counted that Shelby team out after that Burns game. To me, it speaks of how good Burns is, and we saw tonight how good Shelby still is. Those Forest Hills folks talked a lot of trash about Shelby going into this game, and Shelby went up there and walked the dog on them boys. So, get a great night for Cleveland County.
Well, don't forget Kings Mountain, 42-6, and it was 42 at halftime. I'm sure Coach Lloyd, had a little mercy, if you will, and probably played some kids that hadn't played.
I was told in the press box they got to 42 with 8 minutes left in the second quarter.
Yeah.
So, like you said, Coach Lloyd did what they needed to do. They took care of business. I guarantee you they got out of there healthy, and so good to go. Chris did have an injury last night, and I hate to say I cannot remember the young man's name. We said it on the air. They did have to bring an ambulance out to take him off the field. We don't know the extent of what the injury was. It looks like he was moving his arms and legs when they took him off, but it was actually one of the JV kids they had called up from that very good JV team. He was playing nose tackle tonight for the Charger defense, and he was playing well. They did have to take him off the field, so hopefully that young man's okay, and we'll get a good report from him as well.
Well, thank you, Robbie. We appreciate it, and thank you for the little preview of the Oak Grove team. We're going to see some good football, and the Cleveland County teams are going to be a part of it. Unfortunately, as Jeff Jones pointed out, one Cleveland County team is guaranteed to lose next week because Burns and Shelby play again.
I can't imagine, Dennis, what the emotion is going to be like next Friday night in Lawndale between those two football teams. If I wasn't following the Chargers up to Oak Grove, baby, I'd love to see that football game. And hey, here's something else for you, Dennis. Next Friday, November 11th, not only is it Veterans Day, it's Rob Roop's birthday. So I'm going looking for a Charger victory. That'd be the best birthday present in the world for the Chargers to head up towards Winston-Salem and get a victory.
Well, happy birthday, and grab a Krispy Kreme while you're down there.
I appreciate it, Dennis. Y'all guys keep up the great work. And, Kevin, I'll see you in the morning on the morning show.
Yes, sir, Rob. See you in the morning, brother. Thank you.
Talk to you later, guys.
Rob Root there with the Crest Chargers broadcast. Crest wins tonight 33-7, folks. They'll be at Oak Grove in Winston-Salem next week. Oak Grove in Winston-Salem, they are undefeated this year, Dennis. Just to let you know, they had played some close games, but I don't know what to say. They beat Southwest Guilford, West Forsyth, Ragsdale, Lexington, West Stanley, Ashboro, North Davidson, Ledford, Montgomery Central, and Central Davidson tonight.
Now, that Ledford game.
No, last week, and then tonight beat West Meck 17-12.
Yeah, what was the score in that Ledford game?
28-20.
Ooh, okay.
So they beat Ledford, who is a 12 seed, 28-20. So that must be the second place team.
Yeah, Ledford has had a very good year. Okay. They were projecting Ledford as the possible number 1 seed. Okay.
So we got Tom on the phone, did you say, JP? Yes, Tommy, you on the phone there? Is Tom Sinafani with the Burns Bulldogs?
Yeah, Kevin, I'm here. How's it going, guys?
Hey, Tom.
Hey, Paisan.
Bulldogs.
Well, it's not too much to talk about in the 62-13 game. Burns scores on their 8 first possessions. Ledford doesn't have a first down until late in the second quarter. I mean, it was 50-0 before you could turn around. They were just overmatched. And, Kevin, I heard you on the pregame show talking about players without teams without a lot of players. I'm saying maybe they had 30 guys, Kevin. They might have had 30. Yeah. And they just, they were just totally outmatched, had nothing for us. They were able to score on our second teamers a little bit, but I want to give them some credit. Our second teamers forced a fumble and then got a touchdown there late in the second half. So glad those guys did a good job and get in there and that mop-up duty at the end of the game. So got the big one coming up next week with Shelby. We'll all be ready for that one.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you about, Tom. Enough about this little romper room game tonight. Tell us about what's going to happen next week from the Burns side of this game.
Well, I mean, we've got to play defense. We've got to get pressure on the quarterback. They've still got skilled players. We're going to have to cover their wide receivers and tackle in space. And last time, Dennis, we had some success with the running game. The pitch play to Norris, I think that's going to be key, getting the running game going. And then we did a lot of play action pass tonight. And if we're able to run the ball effectively next week, that's going to set up our play action pass, which we like to go with kind of some short slant patterns off that play action. So if we can get that going and get the offense going, I think it's going to be a good night for us. But Shelby, they're going to have some of their guys back that were out sick. And, they'll be ready to play. And, they're going to learn a lot from that first film they watched. And I'm sure their coaches, they've got a good staff down there at Shelby. They're going to be making some adjustments. So they'll be ready for us. But good game. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, that's what I was going to lead you into is what's going to be different in this game versus the last game. We always say it's hard to beat an opponent multiple times a year because you've got film, you've got tendencies, you've actually played them. Your kids look at them and said, oh, I did this last time. I'm going to correct that this time. What do you see different in this game coming up?
I mean, if I was Burns, I wouldn't really change our game plan. I mean, if we can get Norris to run the ball and control the clock. You remember in that game, Dennis, Burns had like a 12-minute drive.
Yeah.
They basically kept the ball the entire third quarter. I mean, you're not going to change any of that. I mean, you can move the ball, move the sticks, run the football, keep the ball away from Shelby. I'd say the game plan wouldn't be any different. I will say this. There were some balls by Shelby receivers that were dropped.
Yes.
And if there was a few of those that were caught, that game could be a little bit different there in the end. So I'm sure that when they looked at the film, it's like, Shelby had opportunities in that game. And I really felt it could have been, a closer game than it was. Shelby got that, oh, by the way, touchdown at the end. So Shelby, if they execute, and especially in their passing game, a little bit better than they did, and if they could slow down our running game and force us into some 3-and-outs, that will definitely change the dynamics of that game. But I feel pretty confident in our running game. I mean, Dennis, I think our offensive line is really playing well. I think they really played well tonight. And they opened up some holes for Norris. He had a long touchdown run, I think a 56-yard touchdown run. And if they're able to control that line of scrimmage, I think we've got a good chance. But Shelby, like I said, what could be different for them? They're going to want to execute their passing game a little bit better. They had some missed throws and some drop balls, and they've got some good wide receivers and a good quarterback over there. And if they can clean up some of those mistakes, I don't think it'll be a 2-touchdown game again. But we'll see. I've got a lot of confidence in our guys. I think our guys are playing well, and most of them didn't play much more than about a quarter and a half tonight. I mean, it was 50-0 in the second quarter.
Yeah.
So hopefully they'll be well rested and ready to go. And like I said, Shelby's going to get some of their guys back. They had a lot of guys that were sick. So we'll see. I'm sure both teams looking forward to it.
So as some people might say, or the Shelby people would say, and now for the real game.
No, I believe that was a real game right there because, if you win that game and you get that conference championship, then you're not driving to Forest Hills today, So you definitely wanted to win that conference championship just to, it's so much easier than it's playing at home. It's so much easier. You don't have to get everybody on a charter bus and drive hour and a half, 2 hours. That Moorhead crowd came 2 hours away. That's hard on young men and women. Young men, especially at the end of the game. At the end of the week. You've been to school all week, you've been to practice all week. Now on Friday, we're going to drive 2 hours to go somewhere and play. That's tough. It speaks to Shelby. They got to win on the road tonight. Forest Hills is not exactly around the corner. So, I mean, they drove a long way and got a win. So, I mean, good job to them and their staff and their kids. But real game, I think every game between Burns and Shelby's a real game. I don't care where they're playing or when it is in the season. I think anyone they're going to be up for. But you do make a good point. This one's for all the marbles. The loser's going home. So we'll see. Everybody will be looking forward to that. But also heard your Crest Chargers won and Kings Mountain won. County was 4-0 tonight.
And only one team in the county will lose next week, and it's either going to be Shelby or Burns. One.
Yeah, I know. It's like I hate they put us against each other this early, but you know it is what it is, and you got to play who's in front of you. So we're looking forward to the challenge, and I like our chances.
Well, I had a conversation with a big Shelby fan this past week, and he was basically telling me, "Oh, but we had these players out, and this happened, and that happened, and this, that, and the other. And how come they beat? Why did they beat you?" And I said, "Well, they're the better team." And I really think that this year, Tom, Burns has the better team.
Well, they have. I think their senior leaders, are doing a good job. Guys like Kahari Hayes is going up to Appalachian State after this semester. So they've got a lot of seniors on that team. Other side of the ball, you got Nick Vincent over there on defense has been doing a good job all year long. And I know Mooney's only a junior, but he's played a lot of football over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's just a few of them that have been there for a long time. And they're showing the leadership. They've got the experience, and it's really helping them out. Ryan Thompson, another one. He had a punt return for a touchdown tonight. So they're getting a lot of leadership from their older guys, their juniors and seniors, and they've got a lot of experienced players, and I do think that gives them an edge. But you can never count Shelby out. I mean, they can always hurt you. They've always got their skilled players. They're always tough to tackle in space. The quarterback's outstanding, Lee. I mean, didn't he break the Shelby record for like passing yards or touchdowns or something this year? So I mean, he's an outstanding quarterback. So don't want to assume anything. I like our chances. We are going to have to play a good game to beat them, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, if we were talking to Steve Degree, we could ask the same questions, and we'd probably get the same answers. We've seen some things. We had some things take place last time that we will not be having this time. And what it boils down to, Tom, is what we describe as that old-fashioned slobber knocker. The Burns experience versus the Shelby quickness and speed. And I think in this case, the wisdom of the coaches and the game plan, whichever one wins, is what's going to be the difference.
Yeah, like I said, I've got confidence. Got confidence in our guys. I got confidence in our coaches, and it's been quiet confidence. That's what I like about our coaching staff. I mean, they're a bunch of good men. They're good family men, and they care about the kids, and it's a quiet confidence. They don't have to go rah rah and all this stuff, and do draw attention to themselves. They just they're lunch pail guys, Dennis. They go to work and they work with those kids, and they're getting the most out of them right now. So a lot of faith in our guys right now. But it's going to be a big one. It's going to be fun. Tonight wasn't as fun because I think Moorhead brought maybe 10 people, Dennis. I mean, it was just Tom, it just wasn't anybody there. But there's going to be a buzz in the air next week.
Tom, you're a great guy, a good friend. The only advice I would give you is next time you go to your 30-year class reunion, don't wear your Burns jacket to a Crest reunion.
Oh, Dennis, that's my favorite jacket. I'm sorry. I went to Crest for 4 years, and I've been at Burns this is year 26. So do the math.
Okay.
I still love my Charger classmates, but once you've been in a place for 26 years, it's just kind of the way it is. They gave me some grief over that. They gave me a little grief over that. But that's okay. I was like, that's my school now. So, but congratulations to Crest and Kings Mountain and Shelby and all the schools in the county. I'm glad it was a great night for the county. It speaks to our coaches, our communities, our young men on the field, and just congratulations to all them. Moving on, got another week of practice and big games next week.
All right, Tom. We look forward to hearing from you over there in Lawndale and Ron Green Stadium.
All right. Well, great job of the post-game show. Thanks for keeping us informed. We'll be listening, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Tommy. See you in the morning. All right, Tom Sinofani with the Burns Bulldogs broadcast again. We'll have Shelby and Burns next week live on YouTube. Who we got, JP? Jeff Miller on the phone.
All right. Jeffrey.
Hey, how y'all doing this evening?
Doing
All
good.
right. Which one did you go to, Jeff?
Well, you guys may probably hit the snooze button on this one, or maybe not. But I went to see Bessemer City at Mountain Island Charter tonight.
Oh, Kevin can hardly wait.
I'm glad you did. Tell me how this crap happened. Why did we lose? How we lose here?
Well, I tell you what, Bessemer City basically had all the chances in the world to win the game, or basically to blow Mountain Island Charter out of the water in the first half. They went up 7-0 on their first drive. I mean, it was kind of a crazy first drive. I thought Bessemer City crossed the goal line on their first initial touchdown, but they said but at first the refs ruled that there was a fumble just short of the goal line, and Mountain Island Charter took it 99 yards for a touchdown.
What?
But then they ruled he was down at the 1. So, man, that was a wild series of events right there. But a few plays later, Bessemer City would score. I mean, they did a false start or delay a game, which backed them up 5 yards. But a few plays later, they were on the board. And Mountain Island Charter had 3 turnovers in the first half, and fumble and 2 interceptions. And Bessemer City's defense was stingy, but Mountain Island Charter just buckled down between the 20s. They buckled down inside their own red zone, and Bessemer City was not able to get another touchdown in the first half. And then they tried to kick a field goal, and Mountain Island Charter blocked it. Then in the third quarter, Mountain Island Charter's offense woke up, and they drove right down the field, scored their first touchdown, tied it at 7, and then stopped Bessemer City again. Scored another touchdown, 14-7. At running back, I forget what his name was for Mountain Island Charter. I mean, it's going to come to me as soon as I hang up. But then Bessemer City tied it up in the fourth quarter, and then did a silly onside kick. I don't understand why they did that. Mountain Island Charter recovered and took it into Bessemer City territory, but Mountain Island Charter had another fumble deep in Bessemer City territory, and but they would force Bessemer City to punt, and here's the wild part. They blocked the punt, and it went into the back of the end zone for a safety, and that's basically the game ended.
You there, Jeff? We might have lost you for a second.
I'm here.
There you go. Go ahead. Sorry, we lost you for just a second if you want to repeat what you just said.
But the game basically ended on a blocked punt to the back of the end zone for a safety in favor of Mountain Island Charter.
Wow.
And, Bessemer City just wasn't able to recover the onside kick.
I thought Bessemer would honestly would win this game. I thought they got screwed in the seedings, Jeff. I don't know if you listen to how that worked out or works out. But the winner of this game's got to go to Andrew, so that's not gonna it's not gonna be fun for that, no matter who won this game. Bessemer down at an 18 seed. Jeff, I don't know if you heard us talk a little bit last week, but the state doesn't give these split conferences division winners a championship, so they put Bessemer and Highland and all of them in this conference with Shelby and Burns. Well, you're not going to win that conference, and then when you do well in the 1A, your best seed is an 18 seed. And I thought Bessemer should be playing at home tonight, no matter who they're playing.
Well, I heard that this was a rule that the NCHSAA had this year, that
Right.
if you're not at 500, you don't get to host.
Right.
So
But,
that's,
but whose fault is it they're not 500? Is it Bessemer's or is it the state's?
well, Bessemer City and Cherryville and Thomas Jefferson and Highland Tech have no business being in a conference with Burns and Shelby.
And East Gas, when you take, so you start the season off there with 3 losses. So now the state wants you to go 5-2 against everybody else to even be able to qualify for a 1 seed. So these split conferences, I just can't stand it all, Jeff. And it's just I don't see how we got to get away from this as soon as we can whenever we do. But Gaston County next week. Let's see who's left in the area. You got Mountain Island going to Andrews. You've got nobody in the 2A. And in the 3A, South Point going to Dudley. Is that it? Is that all that's left?
Yep, because Forsey lost, Ashbrook lost, and Stuart Kramer lost, Bessemer City lost, and Cherryville lost, and definitely Highland Tech lost.
The whole county lost tonight, except Huss is the only one that didn't play in North Gaston. Well, if you're going to watch a Gaston County team next week, you got to go to Greensboro.
Or maybe I can come into y'all's backyard and see the game, which is Burns and Shelby.
You could.
I'm sure you'd be welcome there.
You could. Yes, you could. So, all right, Jeff. Well, good luck, or be careful next week wherever you go. If you go to Burns or Cherryville, give us a call. Let us know how it went. We will have plenty of coverage ourselves. No problem with that. But more than happy to have you give us a call and let us know how the game went.
Jeff, I got a question. How's our buddy Anthony these days, and what's he covering?
You mean Anthony Perkins?
Yes.
To my knowledge, he is still covering South Point and still writing articles for South Point, and I'm doing highlights now. So that's I sort of switched from writing to doing highlights.
Okay.
There you go.
Well, thank you, Jeff.
And thank you guys for having me. Look forward to next week.
All right, Jeff. Jeff Miller, Carolina Varsity. Looking at these, Dennis, you got 2 Gaston County teams left, 2 Lincoln County teams left, 1 Rutherford County team left, and then we've got
4 Cleveland
County teams left.
For now.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13 of our 39 teams in our area on our power poll are still alive. All right, let me read the scores and we'll take a break. And let's go. Let's see. Robbinsville 40-14 over Cherryville. Cherokee 28-21 over Star Mount. Mountain Island wins 16-14 over Bessemer City. They'll go to Andrews, who won 77-8 over Highland Tech. East Wilkes wins tonight 44-14 over Jefferson. They'll play the Murphy Bulldogs, who won 49-20 over Albemarle Bulldogs. Chase Trojans win tonight 74-15 over North Wilkes. They will then travel to. They will host Robinson. Robinson will come to Chase. 22-12 victory over Wilkes Central was Robinson. Drawn wins tonight 63-13. They'll host Mitchell next week, who won 72-21 over South Davidson. Reedsville wins tonight 76-14 over Madison. They'll host Providence Grove, who won 48-14 over McMichael. Burns Bulldogs win 62-13. They'll host Shelby, who won 30-13 over Forest Hills. Salisbury won 28-16 over Brevard. They'll play Pine Lake Prep, who won 38-20 over West Stokes. Monroe wins 56-6 over North Stanley, and they'll host the Lincoln Wolves next week, who won tonight 37-36 in overtime at Randleman. Hendersonville wins 36-29 against West Lincoln. They will head to East Surrey next week, who won 42-0 over Anson. Maiden Blue Devils win tonight 68-33. They'll host the Mount Pleasant Tigers, who won 28-13 over Walkertown. Bunker Hill Bears 41-8 over East Davidson. They'll host They'll go to Community School of Davidson, who won tonight 20-14 over East Gaston. Kings Mountain wins 42-6 over St. Stephen's. They'll host Smoky Mountain Mustangs next week over the Central Davidson Spartans and Dennis. The Kings Mountain Mountaineers will now officially take over 92.9 FM and WCSL here for the remaining of the playoffs. Kings Mountain, welcome to KTC on the radio for the remaining playoffs.
And that is a strong signal for all you folks in Kings Mountain. Check it out.
92.9. We'll have you on the radio now that the Ironmen are out of the playoffs at Kings Mountain. You will be on WCSL going forward. West Charlotte 40-13 over Stuart Kramer. They'll play High Brighton, who won 32-27 over Southern Guilford. Let's see.
Northwest Cabarrus.
I'm sorry. I was responding to text real quick. Northwest Cabarrus 17-13 over Ashbrook, and Ledford 35-0 over Freedom. They'll play each other, Ledford and Northwest Cabarrus. Tuscola wins 35-14 over Forest View. They'll travel to East Lincoln next week, who won 51-6 over Ashe County. Oak Grove wins 17-12 to continue their undefeated season, 11-0, and they'll host the Crest Chargers 33-7. Winners tonight over Statesville. Dudley wins 43-5 over Pisgah, and they'll host South Point next week, who won 48-13 over Hickory. I think we're going to have Matt Chapman or Danny on the phone right now. Hey, no, put them on. Oh, never mind. Sorry, tell Steve I've got Matt calling next, and then I'll have him. So tell Steve to call back about 15 minutes, and we'll take care of him. All right, we've got to take a break, though. When we come back, we'll talk to Matt Chapman and Danny Aker about the Cherryville and Robbinsville game, and then we'll talk to Steve DeGree about that Shelby victory night. We'll be right back. KDCBroadcasting.com.
Check out the fall savings at Bill Shuford Heating and Air in Shelby. Keep warm this winter with the new American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning System. Right now, get 0 APR financing for 72 months and payments as low as $85 per month. And American Standard is rated #1 in reliability. And remember, they service all brands. Bill Shuford Heating and Air, 213 Campbell Street in Shelby. Online at BillShufordHVAC.com. It's time to get ready for fall and winter driving with a stop in at Butler's Tire and Auto Service in Kings Mountain. For over 26 years, Butler's Tire and Auto Service has been serving the folks of Kings Mountain, Cleveland, and Gaston counties with the finest in automotive repair. From a tune-up to an oil change to an alignment, and check on their line of tires. They always have a great deal on tires going on. That's Butler's Tire and Auto Service, located at 404 East King Street in Kings Mountain, right across from KFC. See their page at whatsupshopper.com and like them on Facebook too. 4 generations. Now think about that. 4 generations of serving our area, providing understanding, care, and comfort to help you through a difficult time. That's Cecil M. Burton Funeral Home and Crematory. That's over 90 years of experience, knowledge, and tradition. Their staff takes pride in the professionalism your family will receive. Cecil M. Burton Funeral Home and Crematory, 106 Cherryville Road in Shelby. Online at CecilMBurtonFuneralHome.com. Call 704-480-8383. Your commercial local train dealer for residential and commercial service in Shelby and Cleveland County is CSI Mechanical, a 5-star leader in HVAC services. What's their secret? Well, it's pretty simple. They provide fast, efficient, fair service with no hidden or surprising costs. They are a certified train comfort specialist dealer and handle all warranties. They also do commercial refrigeration, and they are a Hoshisaki ice maker machine dealer for home or office. Call for more information at 704-600-6267. CSI Mechanical, 1243 East Dixon Boulevard in Shelby, right behind Hendrick Appliance. Online at CSIMechanical.com. Like them on Facebook too. Here's good news from Medical Center Pharmacy in Cherryville and the Boston Pharmacy in Boston. Both locations now have flu shots available. Come get yours today so you'll feel good all winter long. For details, call Medical Center Pharmacy in Cherryville at 704-435-3263 or the Boston Pharmacy in Boston at 704-538-3021. Medical Center Pharmacy, 607 East Academy Street in Cherryville, and the Boston Pharmacy, Highway 18 North in Boston.
If you're ready to make the great escape, do it with the #1 brand on the water. Yamaha Wave Runners are the most premium personal watercraft on the market, with industry-first features and exciting new products like the all-new 2021 VX Series with audio packages, the must-anticipated Superjet, and the new race-ready GP Series. This is Wave Runner country. See one today at Full Throttle Power Sports, located at 100 Indian Walk off I-85 in Laurel.
And we're back on the Full Throttle Power Sports Post Game Show with Kevin and Dennis and JP, and we have Matt Chapman on the, or I think, did I get your name right, Matt?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. I want to make sure it was Chapman. You never know with me.
You nailed it.
Okay, just make sure. You know how I am with names.
Matt, he has never nailed anything as far as getting any of that right, but I guess he got you. Where are you guys at right now, Matt?
We're in the hotel room up here in Robbinsville. It's about half a mile from the stadium, so
Is the
we're all settled in now.
Is the toilet out back?
No, but there's a jar.
Y'all are just way. Y'all are way. Y'all are about as close to you could almost pee on the Tennessee line, can't you?
Yeah, I think we're about less than 30 minutes from the border. We're pretty close.
All right. Danny gets excited when he gets near the border up there. They start selling fireworks.
Oh, with
across
Tennessee
the border.
and Georgia tomorrow, you guys might want to be careful.
Well, long ride up there, Matt. Ironman fall 40-14. Let's talk a little bit real quick about this game, and then we'll wrap up the season for the Ironman. Going on the road up the hill to Robbinsville here in the 1A playoffs. Robbinsville's had a pretty decent season so far this year, so they pulled away. But we talked. I know you guys might not have seen, but we talked a little bit about the stadium and stuff up there and how small it was. Looked like on the internet. Not a lot of people have been up there, so I don't know where to start with that. You guys sit outside. I heard you say the weather was actually pretty decent up there tonight, right, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, all things considered, usually you come up here into the mountains for a playoff game in November, and it's down around freezing. I don't think it got. I think it got down to like 55 maybe, but it was comfortable enough. We weren't too bad. I like the little stadium up here. It's a pretty cool setting. They got a real nice scoreboard. Field's nice. They got all their state championships acknowledged on a board over there. They filled it up. They got a nice facility.
Well, they won 40-14 tonight. Tell us a little bit about how the game went in the Ironman, almost or trying to pull out a victory tonight, but coming up short.
Yeah, it's probably, I'd say the best offensive performance we've probably seen from Cherryville all season long, especially the passing game. They couldn't get too much going running the ball, but they had over 250 yards passing between the two quarterbacks. I think Chase Miller had like 105 or something like that, and then he went down with an injury probably late in the third quarter. And then Josh Ward came in and he put up over 150 passing yards and threw a touchdown pass to Landon Hahn there in the fourth quarter. I think Hahn had 6 catches, went over 100 yards receiving in the touchdown. So the offense really got going. It was their most impressive showing all season, I thought. And really, it was a game in the first half. The defense couldn't do much to stop Robbinsville, but the offense, like I said, was moving the ball. They got it inside the 30 of Robbinsville, back 3 drives in a row, actually. First 2, they got stopped on 4th down. And then the last one, the last play of the first half, they threw a pass down inside the 5-yard line to Hahn, and he got tackled a yard short of the end zone, or else it would have been 20-7 at the half instead of 20-0. Really, there was a 14-point swing there in the last minute of the first half. Robbinsville was backed up 3rd and 25 at the Cherryville 35, and they just threw a little bubble screen out there, and the guy took it all the way down the sideline to the house. And that made it was 14-0, made it 20-0. And Cherryville got the ball back with 12 seconds left at their own 40, hit a big pass to Landon Hahn, got him down there inside the 25. And then, like I just said, they threw that other one to Hahn, and he got it down to it was tough to tell since we were kind of right on the field, but he got down to the 1, maybe the 2-yard line. He was right there on the doorstep of scoring, and they brought him down short, and that was the last play of the half. And so they went into the break down 20-0, and then Robbinsville got the ball first coming out of half, and they scored to make it 27-0. So that last minute there, the first half, was really kind of where the game was decided.
It could have been 14-0 at halftime, and coming out the half, and you're now down 27-0. It's tough in those situations. I understand that myself. I've lost a couple games in high school. You didn't in a shootout. You didn't get to score at the end. They did, and then they get the ball back. Now, what you thought was an even game, they're up 2 scores.
Yep, that's exactly what it was.
All right, well, Ironman moving on to basketball and wrestling season, of course. Bessemer fell, Jefferson fell, Highland fell. Next week we'll have Kings Mountain on 92.9, Matt. So, going forward for the Ironman, key seniors they lost this year, and what do they have coming back maybe for next year?
So Chase Miller, the quarterback, I'd say he was probably the MVP of their season. He's a senior. He'll be graduating. But like I said, the kid who came in and filled in for him tonight, Josh Ward, he's just a junior, so he'll be back next year. And he played, a decent bit at quarterback throughout the season and really showed pretty well. He's got a good arm. He's got good speed. He can run with it, too. I think he'll be a good quarterback for him next year. They are losing, I think their top 3 receivers, Hahn, Sisk, and Huss. So that'll be tough. Also losing their top running back in Cam Bolin. So definitely going to have some guys they got to replace. There's some young guys that have played well this season. Caden Wooten at linebacker really played well throughout the year. They'll have Bryson Sigmund back. He's a cornerback / wide receiver who showed well at times. Shamir Moss, the big running back, he's just a junior. He'll be back next year. So they've got some talent coming back, but definitely going to have to fill some voids. Losing 16 seniors, I think it is, off the roster this year. They'll have to have some guys step up, some younger guys.
Well, Matt, your Salisbury Hornets won tonight 28-16, if you were wondering about that.
Yeah, I thought it was like 17-14 at one point or something like that. They must have been sleepwalking. They're going to have to play better than that next week.
They'll host Pine Lake Prep next week, and if they win, they'll play the winner of Burns and Shelby. So your Hornets will have a chance to see some Cleveland County action if they can get by Pine Lake Prep next week, who beat West
Yeah,
Stokes.
I think they came down to Burns. It was 2020, and they played like a 7-6 ball game in the playoffs or something like that. I remember pretty recently. So
right, did they beat Maiden? Was it last year they beat Maiden? The year before they beat them pretty handedly?
It was the year before, and then they lost to them last year. We did that game.
They played each other a couple of times there in the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Yep.
Matt. Will you guys be careful coming back down the road? You guys get some good sleep and go. You and Daddy. I think you may still have another 40 minutes left of hot tub time up there.
I appreciate the heads up. Y'all have a good night.
All right, Matt. You and Daddy be careful. Have a good night. Matt Chapman and Danny Aker with the Cherville Ironman tonight. They fall 40-14 to Robbinsville, and of course we'll probably maybe talk to Coach Pruitt in the morning. We're going to talk to Coach Jones and Steve DeGree here in a minute about Shelby and their wins tonight. Dennis, I'm posting some finals for the folks here online. We'll go through the matchups here in just a second. I was waiting on one of these phone calls. JP's about to get them up here in just a minute. Smoky Mountain is at Kings Mountain next week. They'll play the winner of High Brighton at West Charlotte. Ledford, number 12 at number 5, Northwest Cabarrus. This is 3A, guys. They'll play the winner of 13 Tuscola at number 4, East Lincoln. Number 14, Crest will be at Oak Grove, number 3. They'll play the winner of number 11, South Point at 6, Dudley. Number 23, Eastern Guilford will be at number 7, Irwin. And they'll play the winner of West Rowan, number 15 at West Henderson, number 2. In the 1A, Eastern Randolph, the 1 seed got a bye. They'll host number 17, Mountain Heritage, next week. They'll play the winner of number 8, Robbinsville, against number 24, Cherokee. Christ the Kings, the 5 seed. They'll be hosting Hayesville, the 12. They'll be playing the winner of Mount Airy, the 4 seed, hosting North Rowan, the 13. The 3 seed, Thomasville, hosts number 14, Swain County. They'll be playing the winner of 6 seed, Drone, and 11, Mitchell. Murphy's, the 7 seed. They'll be hosting East Wilkes, the 10 seed, and we're playing the winner of Andrews, the 2, and Mountain Island, the 15. And then over in the 2A bracket, now there's a lot of good teams here, Dennis. Reedsville is the 1. They'll be hosting the 17, Providence Grove. Chase is the 8, hosting the number 9, Robinson. Winner will probably go to Reedsville. Mount Pleasant at 21 will go to Maiden this week. They'll play the winner of 13, Bunker Hill at 4, Community School of Davidson. Number 19, Shelby will go to Burns Friday night, and they'll play the winner of number 11, Pine Lake Prep, at number 6, Salisbury. Number 23, Lincoln will go to number 7, Monroe, and they'll play the winner of number 15, Hendersonville, at number 2, East Surrey. Phone caller, who we got, JP? Jeff Jones on the way back from Forest Hills, right, Jeffrey?
Absolutely.
30-13 victory tonight for the Golden Lions. A little tight there early, and a lot of our games were tight early and kind of pulled away in the second half, Jeff. And I told Dennis the turning point in the game that I remember was when Coach Wilbanks got a flag, then Shelby just pulled away.
Well, it was an interesting ball game. Shelby ran for more yards than they threw tonight, and in a lot of ways, what Shelby did to Forest Hills tonight was what Burns did to Shelby last week. Shelby held the ball. They probably out of 48 minutes, they probably held the ball for about 30, and Forest Hills held it for about 18. Shelby ran for 202 yards and threw for 180 yards, and so that's the first time this year that Shelby's run for more than they've thrown, and they did what they needed to do. But you're right. Coach Wilbanks actually didn't get what Coach Wilbanks got was a sideline warning, so they didn't penalize him. But there were some really interesting calls, and people that were listening to us, I know they heard some really interesting words being said by the guy that was running the clock or the guys that were in the back row just in front of us with an open window. So it was an interesting game.
I was about to text you guys to turn down the fella's mic sitting next to you.
Yeah.
They had a few comments towards the referees and the folks there from the press box that I heard. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Well, Jeff, you said
Jeff,
that,
I can almost hear you wince, I think, one time.
Jeff, you said that you guys did to them what Burns did to you last week. Well, that brings up an interesting question. Can you do to Burns what Burns did to you?
Well, Burns is better than Forest Hills. I mean, I can tell you that. And, county rivalry, I know back, about 3 years ago, we played Burns for like the championship game and Shelby beat them and then turned around and a few weeks later in the playoffs, they had to play them again. And you don't like to have to play that team a second time that you just beat.
All right.
And so I can guarantee you Burns is not happy that they're going to have to turn around and play Shelby again in 2 weeks. But, Burns is also not afraid because, Burns handled that. I mean, we scored a touchdown, with 5 seconds left in the game to make it 27-14. It was a 27-7 game. They dominated the game. They dominated time of possession. So, it's not like Burns is losing sleep. Oh my gosh, what's Shelby going to do? But from Shelby's perspective, it's nice to get a second shot. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. There should be a big crowd there.
Well, it's like some of the Shelby fans made comments to me this week, said, we had, and not making excuses for Shelby, but they said, we had this situation and that situation and this, that, and the other. Those are all parts of the game, though. People get sick, people make bad decisions, and so you just gotta, you gotta turn around and play. And talking about a bad break, Forest Hills, their starting quarterback had thrown for his stats were very similar today on lead stats. And we get to the football game, and I run into John Lowry, the legendary head coach from Forest Hills, and he asked me what I thought, and I talked to him for a while, and I said, well, I like your quarterback, and he said, well, he's not playing tonight. And I said, what? I have no idea if they kept that a secret. I have no idea if Shelby had any idea about it, but he apparently twisted his knee, and his knee swelled up big time, and the one thing they did have a whole week to practice with their backup quarterback, but that was tough. And so, once Shelby realized they weren't going up against their number one quarterback, that might have had a little bit to do with, let's try to pound it and keep the ball away from their backup quarterback, who was more of a runner than a thrower, although he threw the ball pretty well. Well, Jeff, my comment where I was headed with that was, you got to play what you got tonight.
That's right.
Next week it may be Burns has got the flu and got some guys out. That's bad. You got to play what you got. And so throw out everything that happened and show up next week in Lawndale. I'm sure the Burns Bulldogs will be waiting on you, but it's a whole new game.
Really is. And like I say, it's really hard. It's really hard to beat a team, 2 times in the same season. And but even though it is hard, I expect Burns to be favored. And but Shelby, after losing that game, having to go on the road to Forest Hills, looking at 6-4, playing a 9-1 team. If you said, hey, you're going to win this game 30-13, you don't know of any injuries that you had during that game, you get to turn around and go back to Burns. That's a good deal for Shelby. So,
well, it's a situation where, like you said, it's tough to beat a team like that back to back twice. I mean, next Thursday night on that video that I don't get, the Falcons and the Panthers are going to play again. After that last game, I'm sure both teams are going, well, if we just done this, or we're not going to let that happen. But the thing of, you line up, and it's a whole new game.
That's right. And Burns, in that game last week, Shelby kicked off to Burns. Burns took the opening kickoff. They drove down. They scored, and it was 7-0. Then Shelby, I think, went 3 and out and punted, and from that point, Burns had it leading 7-0, and Shelby never could get back, any closer than 7 points for the rest of the ball game. And Shelby went down this week and got the opening kickoff, had a nice long drive, and kicked the field goal, led 3-0, and Forest Hills never got any closer than 3 points. So, the beginning of that ball game, I felt that Burns last week came out and they said, okay, you're expecting us to throw it all over the place. We're going to run the ball. And they ran it and, forced Shelby to make some big-time changes. And then when they had to make some changes to shore up the run defense, then quarterback made some really nice throws, and it kind of opened up the passing lane. So, Coach Devine, he's a great football coach. And, so Burns and Shelby, they've got good coaching staffs. And so it'll be really interesting to see, what they cook up. And I can tell you one thing, I'm glad I'm not having to make any plans about, what I'm going to do against this or do against that. It's nice to go watch the football game. I can tell you that.
Being a spectator has its benefits, Jeff.
You better believe it, yeah.
Well, listen, Carolina and Virginia tomorrow. I noticed that somebody claimed that Virginia was going to win that game. I know you might.
Well,
have
they might. Virginia's a house of horrors for North Carolina. I think.
Oh yeah.
I think since like 1981, I think North Carolina's at Virginia maybe 3 times, maybe only twice.
Yeah, is that game in Charlottesville?
And the other thing is North Carolina played their best defensive game last week against Pittsburgh, but then they lost 3 defensive starters. And so they're going to go up to Virginia and without 3 defensive starters, and they just now kind of got that defense in, some semblance of, doing what they want to do. So it'll be interesting.
Well, where I'm
but I can tell you one thing, Drake May, he's the real deal. He's pretty darn good. I can see why Alabama was recruiting him.
Yeah, well, the where I was headed with that was that number 24 for Carolina. I think you may be familiar with him, Mr. Hamrick.
Yes, he. The people were asking me, why is Shelby struggling on defense? I said, well, let's say you got 24 at UNC playing snaps on Saturday, and he was playing for Shelby last year, and you got Santana playing at Appalachian, playing snaps at Appalachian. He was playing for Shelby last year, and so you got 2 guys playing for good college football teams as true freshmen. Yeah, you're going to struggle a little bit when you lose those guys.
Well, Jeff, I appreciate it, and you guys, how much more driving y'all got left?
Oh, we're about Cox Road now, so we're closing in on the house. So
you're cruising in.
We appreciate.
You guys be careful. And,
we appreciate it, and we'll find out what you want us to do next week.
Make a left, Krispy Kremes down at the end.
Thank you, Jeff. Jeff Jones
All right,
of the
take care.
Shelby Golden Lions broadcast tonight. Lions win 30-13. Do we got Paul on right now?
I told him to call back.
All right, we're going to get Paul Foster on in just a second, and then we'll about this Chase game 74-15, Dennis.
Mr. Trojan's going to tell us all about it.
And then we're looking at the power poll. I've got that put together. Let's see, 15. West Lincoln still there. They'll have to jump up ahead of some of these because they're. Oh no, they did get beat. West did get beat tonight. So we're going to talk to Paul Foster here in just a few seconds as he calls back. In the power poll, I've got 12 teams still alive, Dennis. Mountain Island at 12. Lincoln at number 11. Shelby moves up in the top 10 since the first week of the season. First time since the first week of the season. Hendersonville at 9. Crest at 8. Burns at 7. Bunker Hill at 6. The Chase Trojans have jumped into the top 5. You are now number 5. Maiden Blue Devils at 4. South Point at 3. Kings Mountain at 2. And East at 1. We got Paul Foster. Hey, Paul Foster. What's up, brother? 74-15 win tonight. Y'all almost had the most points, so not quite. I got a 76 on my board.
Well, Chase gave it their best, but I'm telling you, when it was 61-0 at halftime, I was blown away. I felt like Chase would win this game, but I just had no idea that North Wilkes, with that 7-3 overall record, was man. They just didn't have it at all.
Well, Paul, they had a little bit in the second half. North Wilkes won 15-13.
Well, I didn't think of it that way.
Halftime adjustments. They went in and did the same thing.
But you had a lot of reserves, of course, playing by then for Chase. We even had several freshmen running the football on offense and that kind of thing. But, yeah, I mean, I just want to remind folks that Chase is unbeaten, and this is really a good football team. And just because McCombs is not going to suit up and play for Chase again, that star running back that was just unbelievable last season, no telling what he would have added if he would have been able to go. He just made it through 5 games before his injury, but they still got so many playmakers, and their defense has gotten a lot better. And that's why I think Chase, has got a good chance to hang around a little bit longer. Of course, a lot of people saying if they survive round 2, then they got to go to Reidsville most likely, and we know what that would mean, a tremendous undertaking. But this is a good football team, and we're just hope they can keep on trucking.
Well, Paul, I'm looking at Robinson's schedule right now. You got to host him next week. We talked earlier in the pregame show about I wish you guys would have been on the other side of the bracket so we could see you match up against some of our local teams. You on this other side of the bracket, there's nobody local except Maiden, I guess, is the closest local team for us. So I just wish you were on the other side a little bit so you maybe get Lincoln or Hendersonville. Or now, speaking of Hendersonville, how about their win tonight over you're very familiar with them. You've seen them quite a bit the last few years. With their win tonight over West Lincoln in a battle, 36-29. And that one, of course, Jefferson fell tonight at East Wilkes, and RS didn't make the playoffs. So you guys up that way got Hendersonville still alive. And then, of course, this Chase team. This Robinson team, Paul, 10-1. Their only loss on the season is Independence. So only loss to Independence this year.
Yeah, what a statement that is, Kevin. You're right. The Independence, bigger school in Charlotte. Robbinsville has beat everybody else. So this is going to be a tough battle, and you can't be looking ahead and thinking about round 3, trying to get to Reidsville if that presents itself. You got a good team coming in next week, and they're certainly going to be a better quality than what Chase saw tonight. I think it's going to be important for Chase again to get off to that good start, which they've been doing most of the season. And hopefully that Chase defense can shut down Robbinsville, who proved in their game tonight they got it going in the second half, it sounded like.
Yeah, you got J.M. Robinson Bulldogs, not Robbinsville. You got Robinson.
You're exactly right.
Former 3A school. They've moved down, so this is you do got a quality opponent next week, and it only gets tougher if you beat Reidsville. You could possibly probably won't be end up with a home game. You'd probably end up at Davidson or Maiden if you can get through Reidsville. So Chase with one more home game, and then Road Dogs after that probably. Or Paul, if you guys want to get to the state.
Yes, sir. Coach Cogdell's done a great job, former coach in Cleveland County, so I hope he can keep it going. And, tonight their leading rusher on the season who had about 1,100 yards coming into tonight, Rudisill, was in the end zone 4 different times. They got touchdowns in 2 long passes. They had a safety. They had a pick six. So they did it all over the place. And that's the kind of effort it's going to take if you're going to keep on trucking and beat Robinson and what's still to come. But we've been excited to get to call it, and I'm glad I was back on board tonight, Kevin. I missed being around the last few weeks.
Yeah, we're glad you're feeling better. And will Jonathan be joining you guys next week again?
Absolutely. JB should be good for the rest of the way, and he's certainly been a plus, and he's been on the air every week of the season, so that's good as our color commentator. And, we'll be together again next week for round 2 and looking forward to it.
All right, Chase, the number 8 seed, hosts Robinson next week on WAGY with Paul Foster. Thank you, Paul, for giving us the call. You have a good night and a good weekend, sir.
You do the same. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you, Paul Foster. All right, let's go through the scores one more time. Robbinsville 40-14 over Cherokee. They'll play the winner. They'll play Cherokee, who won 28-21 over Starmount. Mountain Island Charter wins 16-14 over Bessemer City. They'll go to Andrews, who won 77-8 over Highland Tech. East Wilkes wins 44-14 over Jefferson. They'll play Murphy, who won 49-20 over Albemarle. Chase wins 74-15. They'll host Robinson, who won 22-12 over Wilkes Central. Chase beat North Wilkes. Drawn 63-13 over Union Academy. Mitchell Mountaineers 72-21 over South Davidson. Reidsville 76-14 over Madison. They'll play Providence Grove, who won 48-14. Burns wins 62-13 over Moorhead. They'll play Shelby, who won 30-13 over Forest Hills. Salisbury wins 28-16 over Brevard. They'll play Pine Lake Prep, who won 38-20 over West Stokes. Monroe 56-6 over North Stanley, who will play Lincoln, who won 37-36. 36-29, Hendersonville wins over West Lincoln. They'll go to East Surrey, who won 42-0 over Anson. Maiden wins tonight 68-33 over Polk County. They'll host Mount Pleasant, who won 28-13 over Walkertown. Bunker Hill wins tonight 41-8 over East Davidson. They will go to Community School of Davidson, who won 20-14 over East Gaston. Kings Mountain wins 42-6 over St. Stephen's. They'll host Smoky Mountain, who won 41-38 over Central Davidson. West Charlotte wins 40-13 over Kramer. They'll play High Brighton next week, who won 32-27 over Southern Guilford. Northwest Cabarrus beats Ashbrook 17-3. They'll play Ledford, who won 35-0 over Freedom. Tuscola wins 34-14. They'll play East Lincoln, who won 51-6 over Ashe County. Oak Grove wins 17-12 over West Meck. They'll host Crest next week, who won 33-7 over Statesville. And finally, Dudley wins 43-5 over Pisgah, and they'll host South Point next week, who won 48-13 over Hickory. Who we got? Steve Green?
This just in from Terry Reinhardt.
Yep.
Terry says that most of the time, like 73%, the team that wins game 1 wins again.
All right, you talking about matchups? Great. Yep. Steve Degrees in the house. What's up, Steve? You coming down the road?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you a little bit. Turn him up there a little bit, JP. Go ahead, Steve. Tell us a little about them. Were you guys prepared for the other quarterback tonight? Do you know anything about that?
We had a great game plan tonight. I think Mr. Coaches, they did a great job. Our scout team did a good job. We took away the run. I tell you what, nobody gave us a chance to win that game tonight. But our kids came out, they were focused. And Kevin, I told the guys, if they play the way we practiced on Tuesday, we will win the game because they was focused all week long. So from the upset in the game that we played last week, our kids really played hard.
Steve, we can barely make out what you're saying. You ain't got a window open or anything, do you?
No, it's not. I got a good connection. I guess I'll just hang up and call back.
we can hear you. If you want to, you can hang up and call right back. We'll get you right back.
All
right. Steve Degree coming down the road, trying to get in touch with him and let us know a little bit about what happened tonight. They said they had a good week of practice this week. We talked a little bit about Coach Wilbanks getting fired up there, and then Shelby pulling away Dennis. They've got Burns next week, and that's the big the big game of the week, and everybody's gonna be talking about, and we'll all be discussing for a week and previewing, of course. And like Jeff said, Burns did pretty well. Is he on there now? Let's try him out now.
Yep.
Steve, what's up?
Yes, sir, fellas. How you doing?
Sound a little
All
bit.
right,
sound
Steve,
a little
you're
bit
a lot better.
Yeah, sound a little bit better there, Steve. I was trying to ask you, do you guys did you guys know about the quarterback situation beforehand for Forest Hills, or was that kind of a surprise for you guys?
What quarter? I don't know what you're talking about.
That you played the backup quarterback tonight, not their starter.
I didn't know anything about that.
Well, that answered my question.
There you go.
They apparently they've got a passing quarterback that's the starter, and they brought the and he didn't play tonight, and the backup did, and Coach Jones was talking a little bit about that tonight, and we were wondering if that was just like a surprise, or if you guys knew anything about that, and if the game plan changed any at all. The other kid was supposed to be like a good passer, and then tonight the other one that played, they said could run the ball pretty decent. So from your perspective, you guys won that game tonight on the road, big road win. Good job not looking ahead to Burns, but of course everybody's going to talk about that next week, Steve. Rematch with Burns, maybe what should both teams, what should the folks look forward in for both these teams? Are there going to be big changes, or are we going to line up and go with what we got?
Basically, we're going to just line up, play what we got. As we come in focus like we did this week, Kevin, it'll be a different ball game. Our kids are really, really focused this week. It was real disappointing on the game that we played last week because we didn't play up to our potential. We missed too many tackles up at Burns, and it was just an eye-opener, I guess. But I tell you what, the way our kids play tonight, the way our defense swarming around the football, if we play like that, continue to play like that, we should be okay.
Well, Steve, I think it would probably be an understatement to say that the Lions are looking forward to a rematch with the Bulldogs.
Well, I already been playing James Brown, the big playback.
Yeah.
If you ever know that, if y'all know what that song is, the big playback.
Well, let's hope you listen to that other James Brown. I feel good after the game's over.
Yes. And I also, I told our kids in practice, the offensive linemen, that we're going to have to run the football. In the playoffs, you have to run the football.
Yep.
And I used Day-Day, for instance, Day-Day, he rushed for almost 1,000 yards in 5 playoff games. You're going to have to run the football. And our kids, our offensive line really, really, really did a great job. And also Dalen improvising on some of those plays. At one play, he was almost tackled and ran all the way back across the other way and threw it for a completion for a first down. And I was just so happy for the kids because nobody gave us a chance to win it. I don't even think nobody in Cleveland County picked us to win that game.
Actually, in the pregame show, Steve, I picked Shelby to win that one.
Well, you might have been the only one then. I don't think too many people picked Shelby, but they just show you it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Yeah, and Shelby's record has been deceptive, if you will. It's not been a typical Shelby year, but it's coming to that Shelby time of the season, if you will. And I think tonight was a chance for the Shelby team to redeem themselves a little bit from what they felt maybe had not been their best efforts this year.
Yeah, because all the stuff that was going on, all the sickness and all the flus and all the other stuff that was going on with the kids, it might have distracted them a little bit, but I'll take the focus that they had this week and continue to play. And then also Drew Hollifield, I think he scored 3 touchdowns from the Wildcat and did some power running. My whole offensive line, I just love those kids. We ain't got that many, maybe 7 or 8 that that really pretty played. But I tell you, Dennis, our key to our win was our scout team because they brought in, they ran the different formations that the other team win. And people don't understand, without your scout team, you really can't play.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, I hope you're careful on the way home and get you a good night rest and have a great weekend. And you got to get ready for a big football game this week. A lot of practice, a lot of getting ready for this week. We're excited about it on KTC.
Lot of practice.
And Lawndale's not too far away, Steve, so let Kevin know if you want some ribs after the game.
He might well go ahead and order them for me because I'll be there.
All right, we'll get you. I had you wings and they're playing tonight up here, sitting up here waiting on you, but you didn't make it. But it's all right.
No, I'm on the Kings Mountain, though.
Okay, Steve. Well, be careful tonight. We're gonna wrap it up here at studios.
So what was the Crest score again? Out of count teams won, right?
33-7.
What, 43-7?
33.
Now, wasn't it 7-7 halftime?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
They start slow, Steve. Remember that Crest starts slow. So second half team.
All right, Jay. All right, Steve. Have a good night. I got to get out of here.
All right, brother.
All right, have a good night, bro. All right, JP, play them away next week as I announce next week's broadcast schedule. Play the Friday Night Lights. We got to give it. We need an extra minute or two to get everybody off there. So play Friday Night Lights for us. This is brought to you by. This is of course 1G, or our own studio production here of this of video and broadcast. 1G Friday Night Lights win. All right, next week broadcast. WAGY in Forest City, 107.5 FM. Robinson will be at Chase with Jonathan Bland and Paul Foster. In Lincoln County, we'll have Tuscola at East Lincoln. I'm yelling at my dog. I got my dog up here tonight. She is messed. She's ready to go home, Dennis. Tuscola at East Lincoln will have a Lincoln County game of the week. The Cleveland County game of the week will have Crest at Oak Grove. Crest at Oak Grove will be on the radio next week for you Crest fans. WCSL, 1590 AM, 92.9 FM. Ladies and gentlemen, Smoky Mountain Mustangs at Kings Mountain Mountaineers on the radio next week here on KTC. And then finally, of course, the game of the week, where everyone will be on the edge of their seats for Shelby at Burns in the playoffs. Tom, Jeff, Matt, Trent, Zach, Brent, all kinds of people. We'll figure out who's going to be there next Friday night. All right, JP, play them away. You can't find it. You can't find it. JP, play some commercials, and we'll say goodbye to everybody. Good night, everybody.
Good night.